We've got some coronavirus updates for here at home, and a couple that are really interesting. Donald Trump is going to be overlooking a potential stimulus package to deal with the economic fallout of the coronavirus. But I want to start with this story because it made me laugh. Cuomo challenges Purell, Amazon, eBay by introducing New York-made hand sanitizer. Now, you may be thinking that's the funny part. It's not. Just you wait. You see, Governor Cuomo said, "Why should we not turn a hot profit during this emergency?" As people are rushing to the stores and buying up that hand sanitizer so they can make sure they don't get that disgusting coronavirus, we're losing out on that green. I got an idea. Let's make New York brand hand sanitizer. All we got to do is brew alcohol in a bathtub, right? Well, how do you think New York went about making that hand sanitizer? I love it. They decided to use prison labor. Oh, don't you love the democratic institutions where they lock people up for nonviolent offenses and then go on to use them in prison to make cheap products, which they then sell. I will never understand why there are conservatives who will defend some of the policies of like Bloomberg and, and de Blasio or Cuomo or whatever. It's like when they start, there's a video going viral. It's got 13 million views of a young black man being pushed up against the wall by a cop saying, "What did I do? I didn't commit any crimes." And then a bunch of cops run out, throw him to the ground, and arrest the guy. Now, I don't know what happened. And it is risky because, if you come out too early and you're like, this is injustice, and it turns out he did something, you don't look like an idiot. But let me tell you what, man. I lived in New York for a while. I know all about stop and frisk, and I know all about the things Michael Bloomberg was doing. Bloomberg straight up said, we need to stop more black and brown people. Like, dude, that's not the issue. The issue is poverty because of your policies. Okay, please. I don't get why, Trump or any conservative would defend stop and frisk for two reasons. It's literally a gun control measure that targets innocent people. And two, those people often end up getting arrested on trumped up charges to justify the stop in the first place. Now, it's true that it might help in some capacity, but as far as I can tell from the studies done, it doesn't. So here you have a city that pushes these Democrat policies, which keep these people in poverty, and poverty breeds crime. And then Bloomberg justifying his gun control measures by going after poor communities and saying it's a racial issue. Man, that guy is awful. Just absolutely awful. And here's what you get. Those kids that end up getting arrested and charged on nonviolent offenses because, it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. They end up going to jail. Some go to prison for various issues, and they end up then being used for cheap labor to produce hand sanitizer for the outbreak. This is nightmarish dystopia stuff. Please do not defend these people and their policies. They are insane, racists. They are morons. They perpetuate poverty. And for some reason, I got to throw a little shade to a lot of New Yorkers. They keep voting for it. Tell me why. I don't know. Check this out. This is from today, from The Verge. Faced with shortages of hand sanitizer amid the new coronavirus outbreak, New York State has decided to make its own. The hand sanitizer will be made by inmates at correctional facilities, said Andrew Cuomo, who announced the product's development at a press conference on Monday. The inmates can make 100,000 gallons per week, according to Cuomo. As the coronavirus outbreak in the U.S. has spread, hand sanitizer has been flying off the shelves while price gouging has pushed prices sky high. New York declared a state of emergency related to the outbreak on Saturday. So far, 142 people in the state have tested positive for COVID-19, the disease caused by the novel coronavirus. To prevent the spread of the disease, public health officials are asking people to wash their hands. We get it. New York's hand sanitizer, Cuomo says, will be 75% alcohol and will be made available to government agencies, prisons, schools, and transit agencies. The first area to get the hand sanitizer will be New Rochelle, which is a large number of cases. The hand sanitizer will be made by Corecraft, the part of the state's Department of Corrections and Community Supervision that manufactures products from license plates to pillows. The average wage of these facilities was about 65 cents per hour in 2015 and 2016, according to a report from The Gothamist. Prisons are particularly vulnerable to outbreaks, including the current one. Hey, man, I know I was being a little hyperbolic when I said they want to cash in on that green. What I mean to say is buying these products is expensive. If they can just get the inmates to do it, hey, cheap labor for cheap products, that's what we're talking about, right? That's the good old Democrat policy. Good on you, Andrew Cuomo. Lock people up. You get Bill de Blasio, you get Michael Bloomberg in New York City locking people up on trumped-up charges. Push these policies that perpetuate poverty because, as we all know, poverty breeds crime when people become desperate, when people are not educated, when people grow up without, a father or a mother. Yeah, then you can breed your poverty, lock these people up, and use them as cheap labor to supplement state products. I find that all completely disgusting. And I'm surprised there'd be anyone who would defend any of this. But let's move on to a little bit more interesting news in the financial area of the coronavirus. So this is a story from this afternoon, I'm sorry. Trump to weigh coronavirus stimulus options Monday, including paid sick leave. Advisors were preparing to brief the president on a menu of options to shore up the economy, according to people familiar with the discussions. Cool. I'm down. I mean, we'll see what this plays into, but keep in mind, if they do like a money printing thing or some kind of stimulus, that's going to cause inflation. But, it is what it is. We've got a serious problem right now. The market took a major hit, and this was mostly off of oil, but coronavirus plays a role in what we saw in the past few days. So anything the government can do to step in, this is exactly what they're for, in my opinion, to sort of, step in during emergencies because the market's taking major hits and we got to, kind of play referee on this one. I don't know exactly what will happen, but I'm hoping to see them do something to make sure that whatever does happen, whatever panic ensues, people will make it through this one with very little harm to their business, to themselves, to their savings. So we'll see. Right now, the stock drop-off we saw this morning has to do more with oil prices in Saudi Arabia and less to do with coronavirus. But of course, coronavirus being the hot media topic, all of these media outlets got to say that the coronavirus is the cause, which is just not fair. Absolutely not fair. It plays a role, I think that's fair to say, but the cause was that overnight, Saudi Arabia dumped oil like crazy, dropping it by like 20 or 30%, which is nuts. And the market opened up, got hurt, got locked. So I'll leave that where it is. But I want to talk now about the one last bit of the coronavirus updates here. This is from CNN. CNN has now decided to call the coronavirus outbreak a pandemic. With this article from Sanjay Gupta, they say, starting today, you will notice that CNN is using the term pandemic to describe the current coronavirus outbreak. It is not a decision we take lightly. While we know it sounds alarming, it should not cause panic. So why now? The World Health Organization hasn't called the coronavirus outbreak a pandemic, nor has the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention. At which point, I'm going to stop and say CNN probably shouldn't call it a pandemic if the official international and national institutions aren't doing so. But hey, just like with the market, collapsing, they got to get their sweet, rage bait in there. They say, but epidemiologists and public health experts argue the world is already experiencing a pandemic because of the coronavirus. There are now over 100,000 cases and over 3,000 deaths attributed to this new virus. In one day last week, the number of new cases outside China, where the virus originated, was nearly 9 times higher than the number of new cases in China. This virus has found a foothold on every continent except for Antarctica. In several countries, the number of cases continues to climb. The thing is, while I certainly think it's important to track the coronavirus, I do believe the media is making things a bit crazier, for sure. Not everybody. There is a hard line to draw of between when you're panicking and when you're not. I think Trump and many of his supporters have begun downplaying this, and that can be bad because the mortality rate is decently high. But it is fair to point out, in my opinion, that there's overreaction for sure. And CNN is now trying to justify why they're going to call it a pandemic. You know why? It sells better. They're going to say the coronavirus has been upgraded to pandemic, and then not tell you it's actually just their arbitrary editorial decision. They write, some of these countries have sustained community transmission of a substantial sort. That's true. The specific criteria for a pandemic are not universally defined, but there are 3 general criteria: a virus that can cause illness or death, sustained person-to-person transmission, and evidence of spread throughout the world. The CDC says a pandemic is an epidemic that has spread over several countries or continents, usually affecting a large number of people, while an epidemic is an increase, often sudden, in the number of cases of a disease above what is normally expected in that population in that area. In late February, CDC's Dr. Nancy Messonnier said, the fact that this virus has caused illness, including illness that has resulted in death and sustained person-to-person spread, is concerning. These factors meet 2 of the criteria for pandemic. As community spread is detected in more and more countries, the world moves closer towards meeting the third criteria, worldwide spread of the new virus. Listen, I understand we're all in a rock and a hard place. For me, when I make videos, I don't want anyone to freak out, but I also feel like this is a seriously important story, high mortality rate, fast spread. Regardless of whether or not there are other diseases that could or could be worse, we've got a serious issue right here. We shouldn't downplay it. It's also taking a major toll on panic buying on markets, supply chain, and the stock market itself. So to ignore this outright would be a bad idea. The other challenge is how much media is actually causing the panic itself, and that's another serious concern, but I don't know if there's anything we can do about it. Humans react the way they react. I'm not entirely convinced CNN should be calling it a pandemic right now if the international and national organizations that track this stuff are not doing it either. They're going to make that editorial decision, but for the rest of you, you got to make these choices on your own. Whether or not you think it's really that bad, you got to do your thing. But I'll tell you what, people are panicking, and that's a bad idea. I'll leave it there. Stick around. I got one more segment coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.